We are going to have right now a former special agent in charge, Secret Service member, who protected former President George H.W. Bush. Joining us right now is Robert Caltabiano. Good morning, Robert. How are you doing, sir?
Good morning on this crazy day.
I truthfully can't believe something like this happened. I never thought that during my lifetime, I would witness an assassination attempt on a former president, let alone one this close. I just want to ask you, as somebody that you spent time protecting a former president, right, during his re-election bid, when you were with George H.W., how did Secret Service allow the assassin to get so close?
So I think what we want your listeners to understand is that in my world or my former world, the Secret Service agent has to be correct 100% of the time, which is, as you know, a strenuous burden to try to live up to. What I think we saw in Pennsylvania was that 100% went down to about 85%. And it just takes a little bit to, have led to almost a catastrophic event for our country and the world with that. And so it's a very difficult job. It involves mentally, physically with these agents, but also just for law enforcement as a whole. And I think in Pennsylvania, sitting back, and I have the luxury of sitting back, just like the rest of us, all I can say is I don't think that they had the resources that they fully needed to do the job that they really needed to do.
But you're talking about a former president that has a legit shot at being reelected this November. And I know that he has a very secure security detail because I've been around the president 2 times and I've seen the snipers and the gunmen on the roof, and there's so many that you don't even see. I guess how do you allow a building that's only hundreds of feet away that has a direct line of sight? How do you allow that to maybe not have someone on it, but also allow someone to get up on there?
Well, I think again goes back to resources. And so, I don't know, and I don't have enough information yet, where the agents that were supposed to do their what we call advanced work given enough time to properly do that. Number 2, did you have enough people? Most likely that building was locked down, but they didn't have enough people to stand around it, or at least what we call post outside the building, which, all these things come into play. And then the other thing, you've been to probably Trump rallies or been around it. I think in this country, we've become complacent over the years of President Trump and his rallies. And what I mean by that is he, as you know, thousands of people, everything runs smoothly that you see from the outside. And, with that complacency, not just to say in security, but overall, we take things for granted. And, I think that's what happened here. It's a little bit of taking things for granted and of lack of proper resources that those agents and law enforcement needed to properly and adequately secure that event.
In the coming days, there's going to be a lot of people that are finger pointing, saying, well, what if this would have happened, or this shouldn't have happened if this would have happened? This is an absolute nightmare for the Secret Service. In your opinion, are there ramifications that come down on the head of Secret Service and some of the members that were working it that day?
I think time is going to really tell on so many different aspects of things. You don't want to have to be those, quarterbacks sitting back there and complaining about everything. I think you have to look at what potentially could have happened, could have changed the trajectory of a presidential race, obviously, or of the world. But even now, my question would be are we going to have more Trump rallies? Will people come to those rallies? Will they be afraid now? In my world, in my old world, I will believe that whatever resources are needed at this point now, they will get. But will people be, intimidated and fearful of going outside now again? And so there's all these little things that come into play. But then the other question is, I think that we really want to focus on, this is what I do, is why did this happen? We all talk about how this could have happened and how this guy got up on the roof. The real main question is, why did this happen? The visceral hate that we have in this country, and I will say, not being political, geared more towards former President Trump than anybody in modern times, is not a good thing. And all it takes is, unfortunately, one individual that just happened to take this hyperbole, this false narrative, and move forward with it. And that, to me, is extremely scary.
Yeah, it is extremely scary. And I want to know the mental state of the shooter. He was also, he was 20. So that means when the former president was elected in 2016, he was only 12 years old. 12 years old. And did he develop the hate then, or maybe was he a fan of him, and then there was that turning point? Those are the things that we'll never know. But I know within the Secret Service and the FBI, they're going to do their best to gather a digital footprint and piece everything together.
Yeah, they will. The question is going to be whether we, as the citizens of this country, ever get to know fully the extent. And that's one of my concerns, is that most likely we will not. I think that, sometimes, as you know, the news has been washed down, and it does a disservice to our country. We need to handle the truth, good, bad, or ugly. And only time will tell, but I am not optimistic that we'll ever fully understand about this wicked individual.
Well, I'm hoping that news outlets, they do their duty and their job and make sure that everyone knows what is happening, and make sure if a report comes out by the Secret Service or the FBI, I would hope that that is shared in full. We're talking about an assassination attempt on the former president and the Republican nominee. We really appreciate you, sir, for taking the time and coming on. I'm sure you probably, I don't want to assume. Let me ask you, did you ever think that you would see another assassination attempt in your lifetime?
I never really fully dreamt about it in that way, to think about it, but it did not surprise me. When I see crowds as this man, President Trump, gets, nobody's ever, and this is right straight in the middle, nobody has ever garnished that type of amount of people. It has always worried me. I do not like outdoor events because of that type of situation. And my worst nightmare came true. And all I can say is that we must learn from this. But, we all say that, and then nothing truly ever really happens. And I hope this time the turning point really does stick, because our shining city was dimmed greatly the other day.
We really appreciate you so much, sir. Thank you for everything you did to help protect former presidents, and thank you for your time this morning.